All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle a huge issue that students, parents, and teachers all across Georgia are facing: anxiety. And we're going to talk about why that old school advice to just toughen up really doesn't work.
So let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Anxiety isn't some small sideline issue. It is the single biggest mental health challenge for our kids in kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, period.
But here's the wild part. Even though it's so common, it's often completely invisible. We are just not catching it. And that means countless kids are out there struggling and they're doing it all by themselves.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle comes down to some really common, really stubborn, and honestly really damaging myths about what anxiety even is.
So let's spend a few minutes just tearing those down. We're going to bust 4 of the biggest myths that get in the way of our students getting the help they actually need.
Oh yeah, you know this one. We've all heard it, right? It's this idea that anxiety is just a lack of willpower, some kind of weakness a kid needs to just power through on their own.
But the truth is, the science tells a totally different story. Anxiety isn't a character flaw. It's a physiological response. You know that fight or flight feeling? Your heart races, your palms get sweaty? That's a real, measurable thing happening in your nervous system. You can't just toughen up and make that go away.
Okay, myth number 2. This one's another classic. It's where we just dismiss anxiety as, a temporary thing, just a normal part of growing up that'll eventually disappear.
But in reality, it's so much more serious than that. When we ignore anxiety, it doesn't just pack its bags and leave. Nope, it usually digs its heels in. Without the right kind of support and tools, it often gets worse and becomes a much bigger problem over time.
And get this, we have hard data on this. A staggering 70%, 70, of anxiety disorders in teenagers that are left untreated will actually progress into adult anxiety disorders. So it's not a phase, it's a foundation for a lifelong struggle if we don't step in.
Now, this next myth is really dangerous because it literally discourages people from getting the help they need. It's this belief that if you focus on the anxiety, especially by going to therapy, you're just going to reinforce it and make it an even bigger deal.
But the science, the actual data, says the complete opposite. Proven, evidence-based treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, aren't just a little effective, they are highly effective for young people dealing with this.
I mean, just look at this. With a full course of CBT, we're talking about 60 to 70% of youth anxiety cases going into remission. That is a huge success rate. So no, therapy doesn't make it worse. Therapy is what makes it better.
And that brings us to our 4th and final myth. This one's pretty similar to the "it's just a phase" idea, but it's even more passive. It's the whole "just wait it out" strategy, suggesting that time alone is the cure.
So here's the bottom line on this one. Time doesn't heal this particular wound. Action does. Kids don't just grow out of it, they heal. But they heal with the right tools, the right strategies, and the right support system built around them.
Okay, I know. After busting all those myths, it might all feel a little heavy. But listen, this is actually the most important part of this whole conversation. There is so much hope here. The whole point of tearing down those misconceptions isn't to scare you, it's to empower you to act.
If you remember just one thing today, please let it be this. Anxiety is a real medical condition. It is incredibly common, so your child is not alone in this. And most importantly, this is the big one, it is absolutely 100% treatable.
So, if you're an educator or a parent in Georgia, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, great, but what does that right support actually look like, and where in the world can I find it? Well, let's talk about a fantastic resource that's available right now. There's a program called MentalSpace School, and it was designed specifically to fix this problem. It provides same-day mental health support for K-12 students through teletherapy, which makes sure that help is not only fast, but also comes from licensed therapists who get it. And listen, we're not just talking about a therapy session here and there. This is the whole shebang. We're talking dedicated teams for each school, crisis intervention, suicide and violence prevention programs, wellness support for the teachers and staff, and even counseling for the entire family.
And the proof is in the pudding, right? Look at these outcomes. 89% of students show improved attendance. A whopping 92% experience reduced anxiety, and 85% of families report they're satisfied with the care. I mean, come on, this approach works.
And this part is absolutely huge. They've made it accessible. For families on Medicaid, Peach State, CareSource, or AmeriGroup, there's a $0 copay. Zero. And yeah, they accept all the major commercial insurance plans too.
that huge barrier of cost, it's gone.
And hey, for any school administrators listening, there's a key benefit for you too. Partnering with a program like this helps your district get way ahead of the curve on complying with Georgia's House Bill 520, which has a deadline coming up in July of 2026.
So what's the first step? It could not be simpler. It's free, it's completely confidential, and it only takes 2 minutes. You just go to this website, chcetherapy.com/mentalhealthtests, and take a quick screening for yourself or your child. It's a really easy, no-pressure way to just get a sense of what's going on.
And that really brings us to our final thought. For all the complexity and all the worry that comes with anxiety, starting the journey to feeling better can be remarkably simple. What if everything your child needs to start that journey is on the other side of that quick 2-minute screening? It's a question worth asking.